everybody. I would say good night, but good up, I guess. GOOD up. So, I had to power up a little bit with a nap. Of course, this is irrelevant, but we are live streaming at 11:05 p.m. This is going to be some memories, man. The job must go on. Yes, I am live streaming. The job must go on, man. So the goal is we shouldn't be on that long because your boy have to go to work tomorrow, and sleep is key. The little sleep I do get, I need it. So let's go. Let's do our we got a few topics, man. One thing I can say, we got topics. We got topics for sure. We got topics. Let's set up the channel. Let me get the what's the name? What's it called? The disclaimer up. I hope everybody's day is going well. I hope your day went well. I said day. I'm so used to doing it earlier. I hope your day went well. I hope your weekend is going to be nice too. Because, man, it's getting crazy. Well, more crazy than how you're at. It's getting more crazy. Getting tighter and tighter by the day. Where is... Oh, there you go. Let me look at it. And we're watching. And we're waiting. So much going on in the world. Hey, can I talk there real quick? As I'm setting this up, I was watching, I don't know if anybody saw this movie before. I was watching Boys in the Hood. And I haven't watched the movie. I probably watched that movie about once every 2 years. I try to. And I was watching it, man. And it just hits home more and more and more, man. Every time. It just hits home more and more. We got a like already. It's crazy. Appreciate that like, whoever did it. If anybody's in here, I don't see anybody in here right now. And I was watching Boys in the Hood. Very good movie. If the movie wasn't so, it's really a sad movie. Very cultural movie. And if it wasn't so sad, very good movie. I would definitely, it's definitely, like, based on how I grew up, it's a very top 5 movie based on how I grew up, for sure. Disclaimer. The videos presented here are for informational purposes only, and therefore, if you are to choose to attend an institution, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at the institution you are interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor. They coming to get me. I didn't do it. Once again, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at the institution you are interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or representing any institution. Speaking on behalf of Creator, Henry is only speaking from his experience. All right, and also disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Please remember that. Disclaimer. Not a financial advisor. All right, man. 3 minutes already. Wow. 3 minutes. Just doing it. It's crazy. All right. I'm setting up a few more things. Hold on real quick, y'all. I just gotta get of course, that up. And then, gotta keep our search tool. All right, first thing first. All right, new drink. My God. The first thing I got is these money problems. That's a mini of money problems. I meant to say money. They gonna let me edit that? I said these mini problems. These money problems. I must have been thinking of it when I said it. Hold on. As I changed that right quick. All right. These money problems were before Trump. And what I mean by that, these money problems were before Trump. Am I on the right one? All right. There's a lot going on right now with cuts, budgets, layoffs, and many more. So, according to Chronicles of Higher Education, apparently they called it not even the University of Chicago can save humanities. So, cuts to languages, philosophy, and other staples of humanities programs have become all too common at public regional universities and small, not regional universities and small, at public regional universities and small ones, non-selective, non-selective private colleges, as they struggle with falling enrollment and a greater push for majors that provide specific workforce skills. So, guys, the demand right now, at least in this administration, everything that's shifting, if you're going to school, is trade, 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 or what can I use right away in the workforce. That's the trend that we are on right now, and we have to really keep in mind that I'm a strong believer that humanities, which is like the liberal arts area, everything I do in my career is liberal arts. Even in my current job, liberal arts. I communicate. I communicate to students all the time as an academic advisor myself, as I said before, and so that experience in doing that requires very thorough communication, understanding different philosophies, understanding different perspective of people. Philosophy is very different. It's a deeper, I feel like a deeper, yeah, I would say deeper level. It's all part of that liberal arts. But it's gonna be real important as AI grows, as technology grows. Let me not say AI, because I feel like I'm just wearing that AI word out. But as technology grows, people need people, especially our generation guys and our Gen Zers out there. They need people they can listen to, not robot automation. They need people they can listen to, people they can conversate with, talk to, get some decisions, right? And so let's go to the article. And of course, this goes back to these money problems were before Trump because, man, like right here, now the budget axe is falling at public flagships and prestigious private colleges. And remember early on, I'm not even gonna lie, I thought private colleges were safe. Early on, I thought private colleges were safe. So if you go to a private college, I thought your college was safe because you're private. You don't need that much federal funding. Whatever the administration is doing right now, it doesn't really matter to a private college. I was wrong. So that is closing in as we speak. Every school is feeling the heat. Every school is feeling the pressure. Everybody's feeling it. And so, as a student, parent, or guardian, you probably like, am I feeling it? Am I feeling this pressure? I'm just going to college. This doesn't bother me. Granted, maybe right now, but definitely fall 2026, a lot of changes are coming. Shoot, even the summer, I would say, of 2026, a lot is coming. Excuse me. And so when they say right there that public flashes and prestigious private colleges have an axe falling on them. It says once thought to be insulated from the kinds of financial and political pressures face less wealthy institutions. So they thought, right? Let's see. So I believe we covered some of this stuff before I start reading it out loud. This one is by Amanda Friedman, September 5th, 2024. So we definitely probably didn't cover this. I could tell you what I was doing around this time. I was in school, graduate school, covering stories, research article page, guys. So right here it starts off saying Delta State. This is Delta State. It started off saying Delta State, Cloud State, Frostburg State, Cleveland State. Then it says across the country, severe cuts to faculty members and academic programs at public regional universities piled up over the summer. So 2024 summer is when they had public regional universities. They were facing faculty cuts. So this was written by, like I said, Amanda Friedman. And then I click. Give me a few minutes. All to comment. I think this is what I clicked on. Yeah. And then public regional universities, because it's gonna be a hot cake. So remember, guys, I'm not trying to keep us long. So as I go, I'm gonna read the top of sentence on this. It said university administrators insist the cuts were necessary to combat budget shortfalls and adapt to evolving attitudes toward higher education. Faculty members, meanwhile, feared their institutions erased decades of progress in expanding academic disciplines and access to comprehensive liberal arts education, and will now force students into job-targeted programs. Job-targeted programs. It says right here, this is the Amanda Friedman, I'm assuming Friedman article that we're still reading. It's about what's behind the academic program cuts you have seen this summer. Now it says regional public universities. So region public universities, guys, are like your schools that are in your region. So like, it's not your big school that most people would know. Your regional is probably like your state college, usually, depending on how they set it up. And then if I go ask Google, if I want a simple Google answer, because I do want to keep us informed, what is a regional college? Let's say regional, I'm gonna say regional college. I'm not gonna say regional university. What is a regional college? Simple Google, just to make sure. A regional college primarily serves students with a specific geographic area and is often smaller and less research focused than a national university. Exactly, like I said, like a state college. Some like I went to a 2-year college, and they're specifically, like they have limited programs, not research heavy, like they're saying on Google, just a simple AI overview. And so that's what regional colleges are. So right here, I go back. It says that regional public universities are the workhorses of higher education. They say regional public universities are the workhorses of higher education, educating 70% of all undergraduate students at public 4-year colleges. Educating 70% of all undergraduate students at public 4-year colleges. What does that mean? The other 30% of them students go to bigger schools. That's why it seems like only a certain few people get into like the bigger schools, the Georgia Techs, the UGAs, the University of Michigans, the University of Floridas, the Ivies. It seems like only a small percentage goes to these schools because guess what? 70% go to regular state colleges. So it says 70% of all undergraduates at public 4-year colleges. Those institutions serve large shares of low-income students and students of color, many of whom face geographical constraints in getting a higher education. On average, 38% of undergraduates are regional publics. It says on average, 38% of undergraduates at regional publics are, like public universities and regional public colleges, are Pell Grant recipients, and 46% are students of color. And remember, guys, they're usually talking about minorities when they say students of color. It goes into all demographics. Now, the thing about all this is that it always comes back to, for some reason, it comes back to the race situation on things. And, I'm really, the topic always is something tough to talk about, right? And especially in this time where people don't know how to have conversations on things. But I get what they're doing. They did the research. They got the link to it. So really, I'm not a person to really fight and combat that because, like I said, I don't want to be distracted by these stigmas about people like me having trouble going to college when I did it. I did this. You can do all the stats you want personally. You can do all the statistics you want about, it's going to be hard for people from underrepresented backgrounds to go get a college education. I feel like that's all stigma. Yeah, you have to focus a little harder, but who doesn't? It's no different from a kid who's going to school, personally, who has to focus a little harder. I don't like when they try to put me in a handicap. I feel like they're trying to handicap me a little bit, personally. Being there, especially as an IEP special education student, I don't like being handicapped. Um, I will seek help, but don't try to immediately say I'm at a disadvantage because I might stump on one, mistrial in life, you know, or a misstep or a problem in life. It says years of financial struggles and enrollment declines at regional publics accelerated during the pandemic. Those challenges have been exacerbated by funding cuts by state legislators. So the thing about this, guys, is that this is no secret what we've been talking about and what I've been researching, what I wrote about. Um, colleges, universities enrollments are falling. More of all is universities. Yeah, you might have some 2 years going through some things, but most of it is universities. Most of it is universities. So as we keep going, I'm gonna go back to the main article. I had a little sub conversation about that because once again, these money problems were before the Trump administration. It's just now getting hit because they're not being supported no more. These schools are not being supported. These schools were one hit away from all this happening. So I'm gonna be honest with you. It was gonna happen either now or it was gonna happen 5 to 10 years later. So all I got to say is I'm glad it's happening now. And don't worry, guys. I will definitely give you a copy of my paper. Don't worry. Oh, definitely will give you a copy of that work. They'll let you know when I wrote it and everything, and you will see the timestamp on it. I've been saying it, but putting it on paper starting in graduate school was a bing, bing, bing plus. So, right here, as we keep going, it says big cuts were made to the University of Oregon. I think we mentioned that before. It says in June, including 42 staff from the College of Arts and Sciences to reduce a budget shortfall, blamed on inadequate state support. Now, if you remember, Oregon is blaming it on no state support. Guys, since the pandemic, every state, mostly all states, according to SHIO, mostly all states were getting heavily state support. Now they knew once the pandemic was over in 2020 that state support was going to see a big decrease, and then the state, usually your governor or whoever is making these decisions, was going to reallocate the money back into things they feel was much more needed in states. According to SHIO, mostly all states have decreased all their allocation toward higher education, specifically. Speaking of higher education, they have decreased their state support. You can have, depending on your college, you can get local support. Depending on your college, you can get state support. And depending on your college, you can get federal support, which is like Department of Education, right? And then depending on your college, you can get all this support. Or your school might rely on certain parts. But the whole thing is they're trying to blame it on state support. And then you know me and my person that been in the live stream usually. We have a different point of view sometimes, but they agree with it. They agree with it, and I agree with them too. But more of all, they're cutting. Look, they said they're making cuts to 42 staff members. I guarantee you those staff members were not the execs or the president or the college head coach. And granted, the college head coach or basketball head coach or whatever is sports, but Oregon is like one of those sporty schools. Like I said, I personally don't know nobody who went to Oregon and accomplished greatness besides Phil Knight from Nike. So Oregon got crazy prices too, which why I don't understand. I don't understand that a little bit, that they have to do state cuts, because Oregon, unless they're facing really bad declines in enrollment, Oregon charges a lot of money to go to school there. They charge a lot of money. So to blame it on inadequate state support is I don't know, type of ordeal. I don't know what they're doing over there, because they charge a lot of money for the year. And I'm not even taking shots at University of Oregon. I'm just really trying to figure out too, like, why are y'all making cuts? Y'all like, you know, you got all these you on national television. People support your school and they never went to your school probably. I'm a little confused. And you pay people, hopefully you paying the coaches not with the tuition money that students pay. Hopefully you paying the coaches with that donor endowment money, you know. So it says among the job cuts were 11 long-term faculty members, 5 of whom were teaching in the Scatnizer, it's a person's last name, School of Global Studies and Languages, which had just gotten a $25 million gift of support. You see? It's just weird, man. It says more cuts are looming at Oregon, according to the faculty union. It says, and they could again fall heavily on humanities programs such as religion and classes. While the union said pretty much religious studies could also be in trouble. Like they said Judith studies, actually. I'm pretty sure that's a different. Hold on. Educate myself a little bit. What is this? Let me make sure I say this right. Jewish studies can be, that's what it is. Jewish studies, it's another word for it. But the Jewish studies, it's an interdisciplinary academic field that explores the history, culture, religion, languages, and thought of Jewish people and Judaism. Okay. So they're saying at the University of Oregon, they're considering to cut the Jewish studies, which could be in trouble. A university spokesperson said that is not the case. It says the cuts have not been finalized, said Kate Mills, president of the University of Oregon's faculty union. Right here, I quote Mills. They said this is very top down. This is very top down from the president. Mills said, president of University of Oregon's faculty union. Mills said, and being done over the summer when most faculty are not on campus to push back. An Oregon spokesperson said the university senate, made up of elected faculty representatives and department heads, are involved in budget discussions. It says right here, even the University of Chicago has announced the possibility of major cuts to its humanities program, consolidating 15 departments in the Division of the Arts and Humanities into 8 and reducing instruction in languages. So they're going to consolidate it into 8 and reducing instruction in languages. The university administration blames the move on changes in federal funding. This right here, I can't get jiggy with. How is the federal funding? How is it that fast going to be federal funding that fault? Let's keep going. Such as cuts to federal research grants, an increase in the endowment tax, possible reductions in international student enrollment, and new limits on federal loans to graduate students. So out of all that, you know me, I'm going to go to my strong suit on this one. Putting limits on federal loans to graduate students is a plus for the students. Students might not think that, but it is. It's a plus for students and parents and guardians. You don't need extra money to go to a school you can't afford. Just like now, if we retrace our steps, when we talked about the public service loan forgiveness, Literally, that's like you pulling more money from the federal loans because they got no cap, and you're just running it up, and you're like, yep, I'm going to just run it up, take all the money I can out, and then go to school I can't afford, go get a job, go get a government job or a teacher job, a job I don't care about, essentially, and then let them pay back my student loans. I'm going to make 10 years worth of payments, then they clean it up. It said the average, according to College Education, it said the average student loan paid off was like $82,000 on a person. So, I'm going to be honest. You have to grow up a little faster. Based on my background where I grew up, based on the parents I had, my parents made me grow up to be more... What's that word? My parents made me grow up to be more... what's that word, y'all? To be more... to more have autonomy, if I said it right. My parents wanted me to have, integrity of myself. Like, my parents wasn't on my back watching me do stuff. I had to take initiative to do stuff. And this is the time we're getting in for people who are getting ready to go into college. So in college, when you was going into college, you had more of a less responsibility to care about what you need to take, how much money you need to take out, or whatever, right? Now it's getting to the point you have to be in high school prepping on where you're going to college. That's where it's getting there. I feel like it's been there, but now it's really cracking down. You got caps on your loans. If you're going to take out federal loans, you got caps now. You can't take out all the federal loans you want to take out. You got prices are increasing like crazy. You need to know that you don't need to stay on campus and get a meal plan. You can just get a little part-time job and go pay rent and get some roommates. Every time you choose convenience over prepping and planning your own life for your own initiative, you're going to have a hard time in life. If you want convenience every time in life, pertaining to college as well, you're going to have a hard time. That's why they charge so much for you to stay on campus and get the room and board. That's why they charge you so much for the meal plans. Since I'm making it easy for you not to go grocery shop, spend like $80 to $100 on groceries, I'm going to charge you an arm and a leg a lot more to get it. If you don't want to take the initiative to look at some schools, I ain't gonna lie, some universities provide you options to stay off campus, like I did, like stay off campus and have roommates. But we are not taking the initiative to browse the school website. Use the magnifying glass on the school website. So then you say the information is not there, it's not gonna be on TikTok. It's not gonna be on, well, it's on YouTube now because of me, I feel like, but it's not gonna be on TikTok. It's not gonna be on Instagram. It's not gonna be on Facebook. Why? Because your algorithm, if I said it right, you're not looking for that. You're not liking stuff like that. And don't y'all try to play me. I know y'all not looking for no educational stuff right now. Y'all looking for financial education so y'all can make a quick flip. When life is not like that. Now you're gonna come up on some things like that in life, but most of the time, no. So them putting a cap on the federal loans to graduate students, I support. Like I said, I only spent $2,500. 20, 2,500. Hold on, guys. I'm doing some math real quick. I only spent like $10,000 in graduate school. $10,000. And most of the time, I had tuition assistance from the military most of the time, and then one semester it got paid off on by my last job, and then this last semester I'm in right now, I used my tuition assistant, and they cut half. They paid half of it, and I paid the other half. I had to pay $1,500 to $1,600 because of what I say. I practice what I preach, y'all. That was in my purchasing power. I kept the same mentality going to graduate school. Whatever life throws at me, I throw something back at life. That might be a bar. Whatever life throws at me, I throw it back. Let's keep that clear. I throw it back. Because if you're, being real, like I tell you guys all the time, I don't make a lot of money on my job, my 8 to 5, 7 to 4, our regular 9 to 5 people say. I don't make a lot of money, right? So I don't need to go to a job. I don't need to go to no school that's going to charge me an arm and a leg. Unless I'm finna have some good scholarship deals set up, or the school is telling me the opportunities I can get if I apply to the school and what it looks like, what my package could look like. Frankly, graduate school is a last minute choice for me, which was bad on my part because I didn't get to explore opportunities where I could have potentially went to better schools. My school that I'm at, Georgia State, was in my purchasing power. I only chose schools to apply to that was in my purchasing power. And guys, it was only 10 grand for 2 years. Cause I've been in graduate school for 2 years. It was only 10 grand total. Maybe a little more if you want to add some extra in it, but 10 grand most, max. It was 5,000 per year. Most people spend hundreds of thousands in graduate school. Granted, that's okay. That's them. For a better name of a school, to hopefully get a better job, that wasn't me. I don't, like I said, for some reason, and like I said, guys, y'all are better than me because for some reason, I just can't. I ain't gonna say I can't. For some reason, I don't snag jobs that pay me 80 to 90,000 a year. You feel me? I'm snagging jobs from 45 to 60 max probably because I'm in a higher education field. But it can be very lucrative if I am a vice president or a president or an exec. But guess what? Execs usually come at about their 30s or something. They're not going to put no 20 something in an exec role. It's more like climbing a ladder. And nobody got time for that. So yeah, I'm gonna pick a school that I can save up money faster and then pay for school in cash if I need to. Like, cool, man. If I gotta miss the boat on going to a bigger school because life is throwing these things at me where I can't. Well, I'm gonna start saying I can't because I don't like can't. Where I cannot make a large sum of money on my salary, job, whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna just play to my strengths. I'm gonna say, man, I'm going to a cheaper school. Cool. I ain't gonna take out no money. I'll go to a cheaper school. So more people should take that approach about getting federal loans. This is in graduate school. They said the cap on federal loans to graduate school. Of course, that's part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, as we keep going, it says deeper problems at the University of Chicago took root long before the Trump administration. That's so true. Everything that they're going through, man, that can't happen that fast unless it was already in the works. It was on the, as they say, you was like one earnings away from this, or you was already like creeping. So it says right here, deeper problems at the University of Chicago took root long before the Trump administration. And then it says, argues Clifford Ando, a professor of classes in history at the University of Chicago. It says, quote, I quote Clifford, the true problem is the debased ideals of the university's leadership and the extraordinary debt it has taken on in pursuit of them. Ando wrote about the institution's $6.3 billion in borrowing. This is the University of Chicago. This is actually one of their professors. Like and subscribe, man. Like and subscribe. So this person, Clifford, literally wrote, imagine working at a school and writing about how your school got this debt already. And then, like I say, most schools are trying to blame it on who? The Trump administration. And guys, I'm a realistic person. I was writing about this stuff during the Biden administration. I was talking about this stuff in the Democratic Biden administration, whatever, when I realized what was going on in higher education. So just to read a little bit, I'm going to read the first paragraph. Because this person, I don't know, Clifford has written a lot. And the guys, I am on a very, it's 11:30 p.m. We'll see what we end up. But I'm shooting for an hour and 30. I got like an hour left. So the University of Chicago is in crisis. This is the article by Clifford Ando. The crisis of the university started long before the crisis of the university started long before Trump. So the University of Chicago is in a crisis. Under extraordinary financial strain, it has diminished its faculty-student ratio and hired hundreds of lecturers, teachers whom it pays little and whom it does not expect to do research. It has, you know, they were passionate. They messed up right here. It says, it has deliberately driven down the percentage of undergraduate tuition that it devotes to actually teaching undergraduates. This summer, it proposed to merge, close departments, send some students online, or perhaps put them on buses to study at other institutions and teach some languages in via ChatGPT. Imagine your school, y'all see the bleach? Imagine your school putting you on another bus, you paying this money to go to another institution. This is coming from the horse mouth themselves. This person is a faculty member at the University of Chicago, a professor at the University of Chicago. They are upset. They say right here, it is freezing budgets, closing academic units, slashing doctoral education, and contemplating the use of restricted endowment payouts to support functions not covered in the gift agreements. It says the effects of these changes and a further expansion of the undergraduate population already in the works, with no expansion of faculty would be pretty much desired. Fewer subjects will be taught, classes will be larger, students will have less contact with faculty, more teaching will be done by people with no formal contact with research. And the University of Chicago, the reason they're saying research is that the University of Chicago is a research institution, if I'm not mistaken. And they're very respected, as supposedly be respected. It sounds like they're falling off. They're not the same University of Chicago as they used to be. Is this them? That gotta be them. Let me see. Because there's like multiple University of Chicago. Yeah, this gotta be it. Let me see. University of Chicago. It says Divinity School, but the ones they've been saying. The ones they've been saying have not said Divinity School. So I'm a little This the one I want. So the University of Chicago, the University of Chicago is a private research university in Chicago. The University of Chicago is a private research university. But this person who's writing this is saying that they're bringing in people who don't even research, which means they're bringing in people who probably don't have a doctoral degree, which means they can pay them less. They're not really having credible current research because, guys, as I said before, you probably don't care right now, but you're gonna care in the future when you realize that your education is devaluing and you're not really then you wonder why you're not getting the job you should get. And then when people really start to examine degrees and be like, this school ain't really what it used to be, it's gonna be the worst thing, especially when they start putting like, oh yeah, this started happening in the years you was at the institution. It's gonna be real bad for you. But to stay on topic, my professors at my grad program have their doctoral. And when you get a doctoral, you have to continue research. You continue to write. They research, they conduct it. I believe it all is part. I have to ask one of them, maybe bring them on. But I believe they get funded by the school to do that and keep that going. And so that's just something to keep in mind. It's really important. It's really important. A little nerdy, really important. And so right here they said, back to the article, Clifford Ando article real quick about the University of Chicago, because they're really prestigious. It is tempting to ascribe this portrayal of implied contract with students, parents, and donors to the pressure that the Trump administration is placing on higher education. If this were in fact what is happening, the university actions would be lamentable but necessary. But that would be false. The effects of the administration moves on university operation in Chicago's case is likely to be small. So Clifford Ando is saying that the administration effects are small. It's not even a big ideal. It's small. The true problem is the debased ideals of the university leadership and the extraordinary debt it has taken on in pursuit of them. It says the university trustees and leaders Clifford Ando said the university's trustees and leaders view it preeminently as a tax-free technology incubator. If I said it right, incubator. And its debt load is so great that it is abandoning ideals it once held dear in order to sustain that goal. It says, we are simply choosing not to be a university. It says, the story of University of Chicago is in one sense unique. No peer institution has borrowed so much in relation to its assets. None spends remotely as large percentage of tuition on servicing debt. Despite gifts and the surge in the stock market, the university endowment has actually shrunk under its current president from 2021 to 2024 because it has been liquidating assets to mask the size of its deficiencies. So, the University of Chicago, the University of Chicago literally has money in the stock market due with their university endowment. It says even despite gifts they got from donors, and despite the money they have invested in the stock market, the university endowment has still shrunk. And they said, this person right here said, under the current president from 2021 to 2024, because it has been liquidating assets to mask the size of deficiencies. It says, but its story all distills forces and trends in American higher education that are coercing ideals and wasting money throughout the land. What's that word? Corrode, which means destroy or damage. So it said, but its story also distills forces and trends in higher education that are distilling ideals and wasting money throughout the land. So to get to the end of it, because we got the gist of the University of Chicago right now, it's a lot more in this too as well, which is very lovely. That's a quote? I think that's a quote. All right. It says right here in the end, in fiscal year 2024, the University of Chicago had revenues of $3 billion. It says, why not teach undergraduates according to its historic standards? Why decimate the humanities? I think that means like get rid of. They be using these big words and they expect people to read it. Knowing people don't read nowadays. Like you got me, for example, and I read and I still don't be knowing these words. You gotta use simple words, man.
Decimate.
It says, why decimate? I feel like most people know that word. I just didn't know it. Why decimate the humanities, which means why get rid of the humanities? Why pause doctoral education in fields that do not concern North America? Why disdain everything not writing it? It says, why disdain everything not written in English, or which occurred before the modern world? Not because they need to, not because they are forced to. These are simply the expressed preferences of the University of Chicago leaders and trustees. Its rank is declining. University of Chicago's rank is declining. Its endowment is shrinking. Its investment in programs and startups are questionable. They are succeeding only in destroying a great American university. Guys, that was written by somebody who is a professor at the institution. When I say a school name, it's not the same. When I say a university school name is not the same, like and subscribe, guys. When I say a university's school name is not the same, I'm not talking just to talk. This is written by a professor. It's written by a professor. It's something you need to know. Because when you try to go to college, or when you do go to college, they tell you not to go to college, and you believe it, and you fall for it, and you wonder why life is hard. You know, they say nobody more gangster than the bank. I don't think nobody more gangster than a college, personally. A place, a schoolhouse, A country that was founded on education. A country that was founded on people who didn't do nothing but read all day. Try to make the place a better place, you know, according to history. Have really put in place, they put the education in place. We have free libraries. Nobody goes to it. If it was priced, more people would probably go to it. If you got charged by the hour to go spend time in the library, you probably would go. But since a library is not priced, you don't want to go. You rather get your education from TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The fact that I was banned off Instagram should say a lot. I didn't even have 200 followers and I got banned. If people are not listening to that, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't even know what to tell you. But your education is important, man. And all of this, prime example, the University of Chicago, prestigious, is feeling it. We know Ivies are taking deals. That's how serious it is. But if you have a professor from a University of Chicago, which is almost like a Ivy. The University of Chicago is not an Ivy, but it's very highly ranked. But like the professor said, it's losing its ranking. And that's one perspective. That's one perspective we will see in the future. That's why I love this game. Because this is a future thing. Now, you might say nothing has changed in the next 3 to 5 years. Granted. But they have a lot of debt. The University of Chicago has a lot of debt. They have a lot of debt. I'm not saying I'm not saying the school would go from, I don't know. A school can downsize. No school is safe. Like, one school's demise is another school's gain. But guys, you got to take your education important. You got to take it serious. Going to college is one of the best decisions you can make in your life. I think the best. When you have education, you just understand more. You understand more. You have a tool to learn and do things that many wouldn't understand. And getting the college education, as I explained to somebody today, it's like that saying when somebody say you don't understand it until you go through it. That's how college education feels. You don't understand it until you go through it. And this was long before the Trump administration. All they did was cut a few $100 million. Schools get money by the buttload. Especially them bigger schools, universities. I think we just seeing now that some of these other ones are getting left out. Like the biggest, like I said, my blue chip colleges, they surviving. They straight. Some of them are straight. The smaller colleges, they struggling. And like I said, the potential effect for students, man, maybe you might have to go travel. You might have to travel to a different city just to go to college. If this keep getting this bad, you might not be able to go to college up the street. You might have to go to college a city over, 2 cities over or something like that. You might have to commute further to go to college. What that means? That means then college might not be accessible to you no more. Frankly, really, it might not be accessible to you no more. Especially depending on your background. If we love to talk about people's backgrounds, I don't know why people feel like they need to write about people in poverty instead of, like, let's write about people who are wealthy. Just something I always thought about. When I do research, I know we always say, well, the people in poverty have more problems. Well, I've seen a lot of people growing up, people who are wealthy have more problems. Just saying. When I'm going to read some research articles on that, people who are rich and wealthy, they have these side effects. They have that side effects. Maybe it is articles on that. But it's not heavily publicized like they do the poor. Why they got to research on the poor so much? I'm just asking, What about the research on the wealthy? do wealthy people, rich people, do they really buy multiple houses, or do they live in one house? I heard the great Charlie Munger say in an interview he lives in one house. He lives in one house. RIP when he was. He lived in one house his whole life. He didn't need multiple houses. That'd be fun to know and research. Or the fact that most wealthy people drive one simple car. When Jeff Bezos was climbing in Amazon at the time before it took off the way it be, it had money. Now Amazon had money, don't get me wrong. He had money. But he was driving like a Toyota or a Honda or something. He was driving like a, as I like to say, under the radar car. Or the fact that they do everything so affordable still, even though they amass so much wealth. I don't know. That'd be some good research to interview. You know. Reading it will make it better. Interviews, yeah, but sometimes interviews can be, you know, just saying. All right. So, Utah, $60.5 million cut. Nothing new. They didn't got some more cuts. This ain't nothing new. 21. So, look, budget cuts advance in Utah. Public colleges proposed for meeting state-mandated budget cuts cleared the Higher Education Appropriations Subcommittee, advancing to the legislature's executive budget group for a final vote. It says across 8 institutions, the cuts amount to $60.5 million and would mean discontinuing 271 certificates and degrees, and eliminating 412 positions. It says college leaders also said they continue to review spending and programs annually. I'll read that last part again. College leaders also said they will continue to review spending and programs annually. Guys, when I look at that, that just makes me like, you know. So this article is by the Salt Lake Turban, I believe, Turban, one of them. So Utah lawmakers, if you're in Utah lawmakers impressed by university budget cuts, plans give initial approval. Remember, just people on the board. So, yeah. So, this was written by Courtney Tanner, August 20th, 8 a.m. Or posted at 8 a.m. Updated at 2:36 p.m. It says Utah lawmakers have given their initial sign-off on each public college and university's proposal for cutting millions from their budgets under the state's mandate. And the leaders of those schools promised the cuts will only be the start for how they plan to scrutinize programs and spending. It says overall, across 8 institutions, as we said before, the cuts slash $60.5 million, discontinuing 271 degrees and certificates, and eliminating 412 positions. Several legislators said they were impressed by the plans and applauded the school presidents for following their direction under a pair of bills passed during the most recent legislative session this spring. It says Senator Chris Wilson, I believe R. Logan, said it was, I believe they're saying like, I don't know, R. Logan. Put that. And are they saying Republican Logan? I doubt that. Who is R. Logan? Chris Wilson. What's the R. Logan for? Chris Wilson is a Republican, District 2, yeah. I wonder why they called it Logan. Interesting. But they got Senator Chris Wilson. He said that this is the right direction that we need to go for higher ed. Senator John Johnson called it an outstanding job. This was a big lift for all the institutions, added Representative John Hawkins. They said the Higher Ed Appropriations Subcommittee voted 13-1 to approve the plans. One Democrat voted against. The plans will go to the legislator's main executive budget group for a final vote, with a hearing expected for next month. It says under the base budget bill this year, lawmakers slash 10% based on the tax dollars the legislator appropriates to each school to spend on public instruction. So let me read it again. Under the base budget bill this year, lawmakers slash 10% based on the tax dollars the legislator appropriates to each school to spend on public instruction. Okay. It says the University of Utah had the biggest cut at 19.6 million. It says Snow College had the smallest figure at 1.7 million. Schools were told they could cut from any part of their budget, but were specifically asked to look at ways to reduce administrative bloat. What they mean? They got a link in here. It said they were also told to analyze data and cut academic programs that have low enrollment, few graduates, and lead to lower paying jobs. Why is this just happening now? Because the Trump administration said this. If you're literally, if you want more federal aid, if your school wants more aid so students can come to the school, financial aid, not financial aid, financial aid, but remember, if your school wants aid so they can give to their students. So the way this goes, the Department of Education is the honcho. Department of Education goes based on your data. If they're going to, look, your school, whoever represents your school is like, look, we need this federal money so that our students can thrive. Before that, nobody was really asking at the Department of Education or the administration before or now, whatever. With nobody before, I'm gonna just say before, the administration before were not asking, hey, we're nonpartisan, but the administration before, nobody was asking like, hey, what do you plan on allocating this federal money? Is it going to programs that are giving students a return on investment? So if you using your financial aid, prime example would be like, what you majoring in? Man, I'm majoring in XYZ. How much XYZ gonna pay? What you looking to make after you graduate? Man, I'm looking to make about, I don't even know. You might, as a student, you gonna say you don't even know. More students are more aware now, but they're like, I don't even know. Now they're putting the school responsibility to be like, look, you're not getting federal aid and you're going to have to cut these programs before we give you this federal aid. Or your federal aid, if your major is ABC, but ABC has a low enrollment and low return on investment, if you are a student who is majoring in that, guess what? You're not going to be able to use your financial aid for it. For real. You're not going to be able to use your financial aid for it. That is what the policies is doing. Why would we put you in a major? I got TV on a little bit, y'all. That's on mute. It keeps me comfort. Why would you do a major that's not going to, why would you even do a major and have your financial aid going into something that does not even give you a return on investment? That does not give you, that has low enrollment. That's like essentially just taking your money and putting it back into the school. Essentially. It's like them taking the federal money and putting it back into the school. That's what it does. Or your school take your money. In another perspective, the school knows they have a few amount of students in this program, right? A few amount. The school knows that they have a low enrollment. They have a low enrollment in the program, and they know they have low return on investment. Instead of your school telling you, like, look, you shouldn't do this major because at least here at our school's not going to tell you this. At least here at our school, we have low enrollment and low return on investment. So what that means is you getting your money took, and it goes back into the school, and they can do whatever they want with it. and you don't even get a good job, then you're going to be, this is where this creates that person who says, man, my school, it wasn't even all that, man. I'm stuck with a job making this. So now this administration, and then like I said, every state, I always got to reinforce this, every state has their own like university system of that state, or a state and university, and so on for 2-year colleges as well. They all have their own, you know, like board of directors essentially to shadow colleges and make decisions. And so it's usually called like state and university, or university system of blah 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 of that state. And so they're following the administration, the Trump administration. The Trump administration, the Department of Education, they said, look, we're not giving federal money to programs that are not performing, which helps students a lot. That's going to help students a lot. Now, it does force certain students to go to certain majors, but, you know, if it's not working, that helps you to be like, okay, what school is performing in that major? It helps direct you to a better school. So you're not just going to a school to go to a school. You need to go to a school that really is going to help you prepare for your career. Perspective, perspective, perspective. So Utah, that's what they're really talking about on the spending. Why are they showing this college? Strategic investment. They're talking about community college. But pretty much that's what they're talking about. Making cuts, academic cuts. You know me. I really wish a lot of people would take pay cuts at the universities. More of the execs, because I know execs are making millions combined. Shoot, probably like close to, no exaggeration, they probably making like 10 million. No lie. And if they cut back on their salaries, if we could put caps on presidents, caps on execs, like how much they can make, that would make a big difference. That could be extra money right there they can get back. But would they do that? I don't think so. So, yeah. But they're still raising prices on students. Students are still footing the bill. Even though they're cutting programs, because the University of Utah, not University of Utah, but the state of Utah, they're cutting programs. When you cut programs, you're usually going to cut faculty as well, or professors, whichever they call them. It's different terms like professor, faculty, adjacent, or adjunct, not adjacent, adjunct, and so on and so on. Just something to keep in mind, guys. But that's in Utah. If you're in Utah, Utah is making changes. They've been advancing on that. We have recently spoke on that, but they are making more advances on that. So it's good that they keeping up. So lastly, St. Augustine. What we at right now? We at an hour. We making great strides right now. Perfect. All right, this one is easier. Like, this ain't even gonna take long. This one not gonna take long, guys. So is it St. Augustine University? What's the name? Yeah, right here. St. Augustine University. Now, if you remember me talking about this institution, guys, this is a HBCU, guys. I'm not partisan. Look, man, I don't care if you're HBCU. I don't care if you're PWI. I don't care if you're PBI. I don't care if you're HSI. Look, if you're a college and you're not helping serve students, I got a problem with you. I got a problem with your college. If your college is failing, but you still making millions of dollars, what you doing? When I see businesses out here, especially them tech billionaires, people talk about them, but people don't know early on, these tech people, man, these tech people. Now, I don't know if these stories are true, but I heard them multiple times. These tech people, man, when they start their companies, they don't make nothing. If their business is failing, they don't make nothing because they put it in stock. Now, I get this is higher education where you don't get stock. Hey, actually, in some cases, when you like an exec president, you can write that stuff up like that and get bonuses, commission, and stock, and all that. So What I'm saying is, if your school is failing, on the verge of losing accreditation, enrollment declining, students not really getting a great return on investment, I have a problem with you. I have a problem with you. You really think I'm finna put my future in your hands? People say they want to talk business and you give them real feedback, then they got a problem with the business. I'm talking about talking business. Oh, let's talk business. Let's do business. Oh, then you start telling, like, you start picking them apart, then it's a problem. Oh, why is it a problem all of a sudden? It was cool until we started talking the business. So we start doing the facts. We start doing the breakdown. Now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. All right. St. Augustine University, HBCU. So they're putting students at risk. I said St. Augustine's University race to lose. St. Augustine's race to lose. Maybe I should say race to win. Maybe I should say it's they race to win. I'm going to change that to race to win. And if somebody correct me on that, I really hope they do. It's St. Augustine University race. That's right. No, I said Saint. St. Augustine University race to win. St. Augustine University race to win. Why race to win? Because race to win is because it's their race to win. Because if they don't win this court, a lot of their students, if you are a student at if you are a student at St. Augustine University, you are about to be in trouble. HBCU, I go to you are about to be in trouble. Trouble. Let me tell you why. According to this article, I quote, it's by Indy Week. It's a Wake County. This was written by Aaron Gretzinger. It was written August 16, 2025. Very recent. But they write here that St. Augustine University was set to lose their accreditation. They were set to lose their accreditation in July. Following 2 attempts, they had 2 failed attempt appeals. They appealed twice. They had 2 chances. Appeal means to try again. Try again, try again. They had 2 chances to redeem their accreditation. They failed. And because they failed, it's because the school has had years of financial struggles. The private HBCU has had years of financial struggles. And so it says right here, as a final result, schools can sue their accreditor in court to pause the decision. So they were supposed to lose their accreditation in July. It got paused pretty much. And now they have a chance at redeeming themselves. While this court case go on, if they lose the court case, boom, now they lose their accreditation. But you know what the school probably advertised? We are still accredited. We are still accredited. For real, man. They really accredited. They gonna advertise that they are accredited because they're in court right now. The moment they lose, because now they can say they're accredited right now, because they were supposed to lose in July. Walking you through it. Students enroll because my school's accredited. But the average student, for sure. If I was a student, I wouldn't know this. The average student doesn't know they are on the brink of losing their accreditation. Oh, it ain't that bad. All right. If you are a freshman, a junior, a senior, unless you graduated already, if you are a freshman, a senior, a junior in college right now, and they lose their accreditation, and you try to transfer it to a school, I'm just gonna say a school. that credit, it ain't going nowhere. If it go to, like, if you try to go to an accredited school and your school just lost their accreditation, you are bleeped. You are done. If you are a junior in college, you might as well get ready to say you are about to start from chicken scratch. You are about to start from scratch on working on your degree again. And that's the worst feeling. Because I'm telling you, that person that working at college is going to be like, welcome to the college. We can get you set up on the plan. So, right here, it says, as a final resort, schools can sue their accreditor in court to pause the decision. SAU, St. Augustine University, filed a preliminary injunction in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. It says, which was granted this week, according to a press release from the school. St. Augustine University will remain accredited as long as the legal proceedings continue. It says, this is a tremendous win for St. Augustine University, and most importantly, for our students, said interim president Marcus Burgess in a press release. We have said all along that we will stop at nothing to maintain our accreditation and continuing serving our students, and we meant it. So it says, while the university said a $100,000 donation from the National Alumni Association and several individual alumni made the legal maneuver possible, it says it's unclear whether the institution has the funds to sustain the fight. The school don't even have enough money to go to court. It says shortly after it lost accreditation, St. Augustine University told alumni in a virtual town hall meeting that it would need $1 million to fund the lawsuit against their former accreditor, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. It says, while accreditation legal battles can drag on for years, it potentially buys the university time to find a new creditor. It says, Burgess said previously that the school is working to obtain accreditation from the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools, or TRACS. It says, although TRACS, I think I would call it TRACS, TRACS, has fewer requirements to join than SACSCOC, which is the, man, all these acronyms, which is remember, it's the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. So TRACE has fewer requirements. It still requires schools to demonstrate financial stability. St. Augustine University doesn't even have financial stability. It says, as of mid-July, university officials estimate that St. Augustine University current debts exceed $47 million. The school is also fighting a $20 million default judgment to pay back a vendor. It says, while Burgess said 127 students were admitted this fall, it says it was unclear how many students will attend. It says enrollment at the end of spring hovered around 50 students. Terrible. It says on September 2nd, the school will begin classes. It's August 22nd at the time we're recording this and live streaming it. It says on September 2nd, the school will begin classes, which were moved entirely online in February due to concerns with the facility after years of deferred maintenance. Why are these kids going to this school, man? St. Augustine University has financial problems. They barely have an accreditation. And on top of that, the buildings are always trash. Where's the money? That's all I'm saying. The announcement also came with a significant leadership change. They brought in some other people, blah, 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 blah. Overall, guys, I already did a review on St. Augustine University. As I said before, be careful. I personally would, based on the information that I received and researched on them and doing the research, of course I will have a video on it, I will personally not attend this institution. Please do not attend. I personally will not attend St. Augustine University. The school is on the verge of closing down. School's on the verge of not, like, it can still be up. It's on the verge of just being a school there. It's on the verge of being a historical contest. And just like many other schools. Remember, use the resources in our YouTube description. Use the College Scorecard. Use the accreditation tool. Use everything, guys, because, guys, I want to make this so simple for you guys that you can go to one-stop shop and get all the information you need. Have a community. Have alumni in our chat, man. We can have, speaking on behalf of alumni, man. Like, people who, instead of saying, oh, they went to a different college, so now we can't talk to them. Where we trying to build a community where if you went to a different college, y'all all can still network together. You know? Like, that's going to be dope. Like, y'all can still network. Like, somebody probably went to this college. They probably went to UGA. You probably went to a state college or two-year college or whatever. You getting advice from them. Y'all can meet and connect, man. A live chat. Hopefully. Get some advice from them in the chat. And you go fact check it. Keep researching. It's all about research. It's all public information at the end of the day. The only ones who know the information more is the people who work at the school. And they can't tell you everything until it's public, to tell the public. So, with that being said, let's do our college review. I'm going to let y'all go, man. I'm going to let y'all go. And I appreciate everybody who stopped by, man. I do. I appreciate it. I do. So, let's do our college review. And we out. And we'll be on tomorrow. Oh, that's a good one. All right, so we're going to do University of Houston. I know I did that one. University of Houston. Right now, they're saying they're known for strong business, engineering, and hospitality, big city opportunities, right? Houston, Texas. All right. Let's do it. Oh, let's do it. All right. Let's do that. I did not know that. So apparently, guys, the University of Houston is a public research institution. Did not know there was a research institution. Did not know that. University of Houston. If y'all out there in Houston, man, we need to get a community. I don't think we have anybody in the chat who's from Houston yet. University of Houston. Ah! Oh, that's my cord tickling. Real difficult right now, guys. I hope it's not multiple. It is a lot Hey man, Texas got a lot of colleges. I know Texas is a big, very big state. But my goodness, man, they got a lot of students. All right, University of Houston. They have 37,000 students. It's a 4-year public in the city, large institute, large amount of undergraduate students. They have over 15,000 undergraduates because I said they got 37,000 undergraduate students. It's a special destination for Asian American and Native American Pacific Islanders serving institution. And it's a special destination for Hispanic serving institution. The graduation rate for University of Houston is 62%. The midpoint is 58%. The average annual cost at the University of Houston is $14,000. That's way below the midpoint of $19,000, guys, or $19,800. So I would say University of Houston so far is on a discount. According to the College Scorecard, it's pretty much on a discount. So University of Houston had a brain fart. Let's see how we can get this, guys. We do not. Can we? Okay. Dang, AI, you all up in my business, all up in my grill. I don't even need you. I just need to see what is. I just want that tuition. All right. All right. So Texas, I guess it's a Texas thing because I remember we did University of Texas, the University of Texas at Austin. So in Texas, they like to split up based on major, guys. Based on major. But you know me, I'm going to just do the general for you because it doesn't really make sense to do a specific major when you could potentially be a general student. Like you could, some of you probably might just do general education. So let's see. Yeah, these are very specific. Let me see. I'll find it. Yeah, I'm making it difficult. Let's see, course fees. Y'all talking about course fees for third time. Tuition, man. Why y'all just don't give me the tuition for credit hour, man? How about this? I'm gonna say this, guys. On the high end, you are looking at depending on your major, you are looking at about 15 grand. On the low end, no, that's for non-resident. On the high end, you're looking at about 7,500 as a resident student, depending on what you're doing. On the low end, you're looking at You're looking at 5,600 on the low end, which 5,600 per term. Remember, per term. So I mean, looking at about 10,000 on the low end for the year, and then on the high end, you're looking at about 14 for the year, depending on your major. And then keep in mind, guys, that does not include meal plans and room and board. And if you simply want to do it on the low end, like I said, you're looking at what, 5,600. So 5,600 plus 2,000, because your average housing is gonna be 2,000, plus your average meal plan is gonna be about 2,000. You're looking at an average of 9,600 per semester times 2. You looking at an average yearly. You're looking at 19,200 times 4. You're looking at 76 on the low end. Possibly you're looking at an estimate of 76,800 for 4 years if you graduate in 4 years. So hypotheticals, right? Estimates. These are estimates because the University of Houston doesn't have a clear like tuition per credit hour. They structure it dependent on your major. So for your best and for your help, they do have the tuition per credit hours based on major, but there's no set tuition per credit hour like most schools. So I'm giving you an estimate. But based on that, like I said, for the year, you're looking at 19 on the low end. If you stay on campus, 19. And remember, the average annual cost, according to the College Scorecard, is 14,000. But remember, the College Scorecard, I believe, factors in, because this is like, they always mention financial aid students. They are factoring in that you might get some of your tuition and things of that nature knocked off in price, like discounted, because you might have some scholarships, some base scholarships, or something scholarships, or some resourceful to help decrease or discount your tuition. So based on that, remember I said that you could be looking at what, potentially 76,800, 77,000, and the average salary, not the salary after 10 years of being removed from the school, you're looking at about $62,377. Now that's not bad, but then again, you could be paying about 76. You could be paying about 76 for your education on the low end, 76,000, but making a salary within 10 years, you could be making over 62 or right at 62 or under that 62 mark. So that's something to keep in mind. What do I think? Well, going back to what you can be paying, the average annual cost does not match the College Scorecard. So I still think that's too much to go to school, because remember, guys, on the low end, you're looking at 5,000 per semester, essentially 5,600 per semester, which is out of my purchasing power. I like my purchasing power to be 2,000 to 3,000. You know, if you got a little grace period, if you got to pay that extra 500, 3,500, not bad on the max side of that, or the max end of it. But 2,000 to 3,000 is my purchasing power. I feel like that's good. Like I said, I'm not a person who makes a very crazy big salary. I just know how to budget my money very well. So students who return after their first year is 85%. That's pretty good at the University of Houston. That's a B average. The graduation rate is an F average, 62%. The financial aid and debt, students going to have an average debt amount of $18,000. Students receiving federal loans is 32%. Students receiving federal loans is 32%. 32%. It's 32%. It's not that much on a 100% scale. We talked about the earnings. If you go to the University of Houston, you have a 76% chance of making more than a high school graduate. It's a C average. I guess that's okay. Most schools been in the C average, depending on what school you go to, but it's a C average. And then the University of Houston has a 70% acceptance rate. A 76. University of Houston has a 70% acceptance rate out of a 100% scale. And then you could take the SAT, ACT, but it's not required. Why? Because they need students. They need students to take on these student loans. They need people to fill them buildings. So they not really requiring you to take the SAT or ACT to get into school there. So, with that being said, with that being said, I rate the University of Houston. If I was transferring there, I base it on if I'm transferring there. I wouldn't transfer to the University of Houston because, like I said, on the low end, their tuition per semester or per semester tuition is out of my purchasing power. It's not in my 2,000 to 3,000 range. It's in the 5,000 range on the low end. So, and that's per semester. 5,000 per semester is $10,000, and this is undergraduate. So if I was transferring out a 2 year, you know me, I'm basing this off of me trying to get or attain a debt-free degree. If I'm striving for a debt-free degree, I have to really take very like less riskful prices. Like stay away from high-priced colleges unless you have scholarships, financial aid, or other resources that can help you pay for school. I'm staying in my 2,000 to 3,000 range. I'm not transferring here. I'm not transferring to this university. I will enjoy the perks of it. I will probably go to a university close to it when I'm transferring from my 2 year, but I won't transfer here. And I rate them since they're that much, I would rate them. They have a very good high return on investment. I'll get them a C. They're not terrible, but they're not the best, and they're not failing. But like I said, guys, I get them a C. They getting by. They can get by. University of Houston can get by. I can see some people going there saying they slipped by doing this and that, did and that, and they transfer from a 2 year. I can see that. And another thing to keep in mind with Texas, speaking of this, real quick, like the University of Houston, something to keep in mind is that I think it was at the bottom. Small thing. It says Texas colleges scramble to comply with ban on in-state tuition for undocumented students. If you are a student who is undocumented, you cannot get in-state tuition. It says the state has yet to provide any guidance on how colleges should respond to a court ruling that overturned a law allowing those living in the state without legal status to pay in-state tuition. So if you are undocumented and you're trying to go to a college in Texas, you're looking at paying out-of-state tuition, probably, most likely. You are looking at that because they said they put a ban on in-state tuition for undocumented students, and we mentioned that before, but it's really happening. So keep that in mind, guys, and that's in Texas. So with that being said, guys, we have hit our mark. We did exactly what we said, an hour and 32. We said hour and 30, but we hit it an hour 32. And please play this, replay this, clip me if you want, like and subscribe, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. Peace, chicken grease.